Sanjay, you have been interacting with a lot of public sector enterprises, and it's been acknowledged that there are legacy systems, but management intent is required to get past it. But there are concerns about, as I mentioned, data sovereignty. There are concerns about transparency of data. How do we share data? Because there's a lot of interdepartmental collaboration that is required. How are you helping organizations address these concerns?
So, Vipul, first of all, thanks for having me here in front of such an esteemed audience. We have seen government departments, PSUs, use technology in a very innovative manner over a period of years, and data sovereignty has gone through a lot of change in meaning. A decade back, I used to think data sovereignty is about having the data in India. But today, as we have matured more, we have seen some global wars, we have seen some attacks. We believe data sovereignty is a step more than that. Data sovereignty is about who has end control on my data. Yes, it is my customer. If it is data of BPCL, BPCL has the control. But in addition to BPCL, who controls the data? Is it Indian government or any other body outside India or any other government which can control? Unfortunately, there are laws today in the world which give access to the data on servers which is in Indian soil to governments outside India. There's something called US Cloud Act which has been kept very low profile purposefully by people. But any server which is owned by a company which is not registered in India or somebody who does business with the US market, US government has full access to that data. Now at NxtGen, what we believe is we offer you 3 levels of data sovereignty. First is we have a public cloud whereby our customers can come and host the data on our servers. We offer you a public cloud, something much better than a hyperscaler that you are used to, at a pricing much lower than them, where we ensure that you are not subject to US Cloud Act, your data remains in India, and something like what happened with Naira Energy a few weeks back doesn't happen to you, because we are not under any legal obligation to take orders from any government outside India. We go a step ahead because a lot of times your data is very sensitive and it may mix up with some other entity's data in a truly public cloud environment. So from our data centers, we offer you a private cloud setup so that you have your own racks, your own servers, which are isolated from the rest of the network, and only you have access to that. And the third step we go is we come to your data center and set up the entire setup with our technology, with our cloud platform, so that you get similar kind of a feeling, similar kind of a functionality, and everything is within your data center. Now, we go a step ahead. We don't just stop by setting up the data center, we also manage it for you. Because ensuring that a data center is up 24/7 is a huge effort. Ensuring that no attacks are happening. If something wrong is likely to happen, I should be able to kind of pre-identify that and take preemptive action. So like for Election Commission of India, we have been hosting them for the last 8 years. And I don't think anybody has been able to report even 5 seconds of downtime in the last 8 years. Whenever elections come, the traffic increases about 1,000 times because of the attacks which happen. We have been able to kind of handle that. Obviously, we take help from certain central government agencies, certain intelligence agencies to control all that. But there's a lot of technology that we have put in place to make sure that our customers who are hosting with us are 100% safe.
Cool. That's good. So, of course, there is, of course, upgradation of technology, new technology is being adopted, and including AI and ML, and which is something which public sector enterprises are extremely keen to implement. And but when it comes to AI ML, it's also about not what all you can do, but how you should do, and not just how you should do, but also what you should not do. So there are also a lot of kind of ethical considerations regarding the use of AI and ML. And Prashant ji, here, from your perspective, because you would have implemented it and you have a perspective of various government departments, how is the government viewing it, especially on the public sector side? And what are the safeguards, your guardrails that you have? And these are interesting questions. So here with the interesting questions, I would just request a bit more attention from this side of the audience. The gentleman there, if you can nudge them, so that would be good. Sir? A bit more focus on a very interesting discussion that we are having on AI and ML in public sector enterprises. And Prashantji, you were going to share your views there.
Here in government, I'm taking care of IT things happening in two ministries which are very close to productivity, agriculture and animal husbandry. And I should say that AI is, when we think AI in government, we are not trying to build something which should be mesmerizing, which should be crowd attracting. No. We are more focused, unless until we are ourselves assured of 200% true results, we don't go for it. Here our AI models, AI solution, chatbot even have to be very much tested, and they should not be throwing any result which can't be revisited. So this is another thing. And we in government, we are more concerned about the human. We are not, because we don't need to book the profit. Our profit is that when we do something good for human, and we are having around 750 pair of eyes in terms of honorable member of parliaments who are having their presence across full length and breadth of our country. And agriculture and animal husbandry both are the sector where they are being touched by around 76% of the population residing in their constituency. So, and third and fourth thing, we are very particular that if we are coming up with something, is it going to destroy some of our values earlier? So these 4 or 5 parameters, and you are very rightly said what not to do. We first read that chapter, what we should not to do. And guardrails and those things in the terms of rules, BNS, Bharat Sanhita, things are happening. And I think one of the biggest game changer is going to be DPDP Act. Rules are, as our Honorable Minister has assured, that very soon we will be having rules released. Thereafter, I think we have to get our inventory done. In-house, we have to do the things in order. And every piece of PII data has to be safeguarded, which may any AI engine may use for wrong purposes also, and which may give them edge over their competitor. So government is working very closely with industry also, because government can't do it on their own. We are very much dependent on industry, we are very much dependent on our PSU arms, and they are doing wonderfully well. So I think putting the things together, we will be doing things.
Definitely, and I think it's a lovely contrast that, of course, we keep attending a lot of such discussions on the use of AI, ML, and the focus is a lot on what is the ROI. Now, ROI can mean different things to different people, and with private organizations, ultimately it was about experiment. You don't know what will work and how it will result in cost saving or operational efficiency or increasing their revenue, and these are the terms we usually talk about. But with public sector organizations, and you mentioned the government, it's more about those considerations which are more on morality, safety of their citizens, etc. It's quite interesting. And Arup, in TERI also, have you implemented AI and ML, and what are the kind of, again, the considerations, the guiding principles, are these the same what Prashant mentioned?
Yes, and I will build on to what Prashantji said, and then as Prashantji was saying, there are two examples that was coming to my mind. I think one in one use case that we that we see that a strong case of how ethical principles should guide the AI, AI or technology, IoT technology implementation. We have been working with a handful of discoms, and the intent of the technology was to provide more insights on the customer behavior, and so that for the discom they can do a predictive assessment of the kind of energy demand that is there, and also to look at how renewable energy can be integrated into their basket, so that they can do that offering. Advanced demand response mechanism will then mean that it would be a matter of customer data privacy, and the kinds of efforts that the discom would do to engage with the customer, to inform the customer that until now there is no two-way communication of your energy use. Today I will take that information, onboarding the customer to build confidence for the customers that okay, so somebody sitting there would be looking at when I am using my gadgets and equipments at my home, at my office. That was a very interesting case on how do I educate, engage with the end user on the kinds of information that I'll be using to make my business decision. The other important point on the ethical consideration, and of course UNESCO has brought out a set of recommendations for ethical use of AI, but we believe that an important point is on training and capacity building. Training and capacity building for the users of the technology on the kinds of implications that the use of technology can bring out, the kind of caveats that the results of the data analytics that I use is very important for to be part of the training and the capacity building. We believe that there needs to be a lot of focus on field trials and skilling and training when it comes to application of AI into our business operations, into our daily lives.
Cool. And here, in fact, Anurag, we are talking about, say, AI/ML, etc., and we spoke about the ethical considerations, more on the sovereignty part of it, and especially on implementation of cloud technologies, whether it's cloud, on-prem, hybrid. Ultimately, PSUs work with, and government sectors work with huge amount of data, huge, and historically they have to keep it for like decades in order to maintain that kind of transparency because of litigations, etc. But how do PSUs, how should they create that internal capacity? How do they collaborate better with other departments? And what are the challenges you feel are the typical challenges in this?
So, I mean, for us as well, in terms of being in a very strategic sector, it's paramount that we are very mindful of how do we actually deal with data. So we have multiple touch points which are mostly they may be internal to the company as well, across the length and breadth of the country. Those have to be managed through our internal ERP systems. Currently we have what we call a hybrid model, where our core ERP systems work on-prem, which is internal to our supply chains, logistics management, billing, invoicing, financial movements of this thing. All such systems, employees engagement, everything, those systems are currently on-prem. I mean, that has been legacy, and most of us have been born and brought up, if you see our journey across, not about CPSEs. In generally, I mean, that's how it is. So as I mentioned, when the cloud came in, when the concepts of cloud came in, and when we started adopting, it was more about reaching out to customers and their customer solutions. How do we get that? And that was the trigger for us to adopt cloud. having adopted it, it was also very important for us to how do we manage the data which we will be handling across the spectrum of touch points. If I may say, we have a very strong and very wide usage of our LPG database, which is we are working very closely with UIDI, and I mean, of course, their SOPs and protocols are of the one of the highest orders what we can have in terms of how data needs to be handled. The forthcoming DPTP Act, while it is still yet to be notified, of course, we have started integrating those principles in the design itself in terms of how do we build our infra, how do we scale up our infra in terms of application rollouts, how do we take care of those aspects. So it's paramount, and I don't think it's anything to do with probably being in a CPSE space. Any commercial organization of our scale and size which has so much touch points, I think it's a given. It's a non-negotiable approach. It has to start with there. And just to add to one point on public sector, on being more on that side, but we are also a commercial organization while we are public sector. So ROI is a hard-coded aspect even when we are rolling out technologies. It's very important for us to how do we look at the matrix of customers and how do we move solutions from legacy systems or engagement, how do we bring business solutions through technology, and what is the ROI there? I mean, it is something which helps us to decide.
Sure, right, thank you. And when we are looking at scaling up as public sector enterprises, government sectors, we are looking at scaling, so there is of course a lot of support required, not just from internal department, but from the private sector as well. And Sanjay, you have had experience a lot of public-private partnerships, and are there any strong, say, examples or use cases that you have where it has made a difference?
So when we started NxtGen as a company about 12 years back, we decided that we will serve Indian customers only, and our preference is to work with Government of India entities, PSUs, ministries. And as part of that, we decided to do a tie-up a few years back with BSNL, whereby through our tie-up with BSNL, we are offering our public cloud services and the private cloud services to customers across the country. And that has been a very robust agreement we had with BSNL. We have hundreds of customers in the government sector whom we are serving through this partnership, and we are extending that partnership. In fact, within this room I can declare that tomorrow we are declaring an extension of 5 years to that agreement in a very prestigious function which is happening in the country. So we are very committed to work extremely closely with all government entities, be it ministries, undertakings, PSUs. And we are not stopping just at the infrastructure layer. We are taking that next level now. Everybody is talking about generative AI. Now, at the back end of generative AI right now, everybody uses LLMs which are controlled either by US or by our friendly neighbor China. And if we are implementing use cases based on these LLMs, it's a huge risk for the country. Now, as of today, the platform that we have created for genetic AI is based on these international models. But now there are some entities in the country who have got massive funding from the government, and there are some government entities also who are developing their own LLM models. So we have again tied up with one of such entities. I can't declare the name for reasons right now, but we would be going to PSUs and even private sector in the country and offering our genetic AI services backed by LLM models developed in India. The objective is, if there is a cyber war which happens tomorrow or a digital war which happens, nobody should be able to control what happens within India. So right from the infrastructure where we have tied up with BSNL, we are giving you operations from Indian soil. We'll have a genetic AI application running, developed by an Indian company, using a LLM model developed again by a Government of India entity. So the entire stack, right from the bottom to the top, including the users and the operations team and everybody, remains with Government of India, and we remain in full control.
So that's Atmanirbharta.
Sorry?
That's Atmanirbharta in the truest sense.
That's a step towards being Atmanirbhar. Nobody decides what I do. I only have control on what I'm doing. So we'll continue to look for more and more private sector, public sector partnerships. If there are more public sector entities who feel that we can work together, as an entity, NxtGen is extremely open to collaborating, creating solutions we can jointly take to the market. It could also mean taking solutions to the masses or offering it to the masses. Like Sir was talking about agriculture. Today, a lot of kisans in the country suffer because they are not really knowledgeable much about what different things are available. Like last week I saw a demo. This is a Kisan somewhere in Northeast speaking in his local language with a very local dialect. And his problem was that the onions that I grow get spoiled after 3.5 months. How do I solve this problem? Now today technology allows you to give a very focused input to him based on his dialect and based on where he's calling from. You can tell him that these are the 5 steps you should be taking to make sure that the onions that you store do not get spoiled. Now that's a highly personalized use of technology to solve a practical problem. So those are the kind of things which we are doing in partnership with Government of India, and we are looking forward to collaborating with more and more government entities to serve the country.
Thank you. And Prashantji, you're on the other side of the table in this case. How has NIC collaborated with private entities?
I should admit that for initial 20 years, we were too conservative. We were not, I think then government was also not prompting us to do that. Unless until there is something which is very new, or so during last 12 or 15 years, we have graduated from that ill psychology to now the current situation. We are open, and now you can read into different e-platform that government, especially MIT, is organizing hackathons. And hackathons are open for startups also. And we have coupled, not very handsome, but it is multiple lakh tune of awards also, where we are not only declaring them winner, but also hand-holding to build that solution. One of very successful example, I should say, is Bharat VC. Product name is, it is Tech Genesia was winner of VC hackathon. And now they have graduated so smart that we can compare their capability with international solutions. Yeah, they are not so good as of today. You can't compare that just they are next to Zoom or next to WebEx, but they are not far behind. And they need support, and then government is extending that support. I think these are the front where startups and government, MIT has put in, especially for IT sector, startup hub, where we are working closely, not only in terms of financial support, but infrastructure support also. Similarly, for AI sector, AI course for data set availability, AI compute, we have come up with AI mission, and we are supporting in very, you can say, approachable cost, few rupees per hour of GPUs we are offering. So that will make them, I think, able to experiment, because you know, the research expenditure and success rate in India is very low, very, very low. We can't expect any Nobel with this such meager expenditure. So now government has come forward and they are promoting, and we have heard that every, I forgot the period, but we are adding billionaires in short term of period.
That's good. Sanjay, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I want to add one point to what Sir said. Government of India is really doing remarkable job in terms of making technology affordable today and available to the corporates and the government departments. I would like to quote one example, not that other things have not happened, but recently what India AI mission has done. GPUs till about a year back were costing about 800 to 1200 rupees per hour. And just because of the model in which India AI mission went ahead, called for tenders, and the way they are making GPUs available today, thanks to the effort, the pricing has come down from 1200 rupees or 1000 rupees per hour to as low as 100 rupees per hour. We are one of the vendors who have been empaneled with Government of India for that. And thanks to the entire structure that
And we
government
are
has put in.
subsidizing that also. And,
Yes. And
for
there's a
end
subsidy
user,
on top
it
of
is
that.
around 60 rupees
Yes.
per hour.
So
That's
it's
a
below $1.
public-private partnership, truly. Yes. So I have my eye on the clock also in very interesting cases. And in fact, a lot of these things we don't know. The larger public does not know, and they should know. And I think forums such as these would really help us. Anurag, if I can ask a last word from you on overall, what do you think should be the strategic priorities of the government to build a more future-ready infrastructure, and in a way for public sector enterprises to also lead in innovation?
So I think probably if I can answer in two parts. One is that the thrust for moving forward in this particular domain should be from within. I mean, that is very important. That's what we have seen ourselves, and this requires a lot of change management which needs to happen. While technology, even if we talk about AI, which is a buzzword there, it's not about the technology which we need to adopt. It is about what we want to achieve out of that in terms of our outcome. Is it a customer-centric experience which we want to deal with? So how do we look at the question, and how do we flip that question? That's very important. And the technologies, of course, will keep scaling up. I mean, we are not an island anymore. Of course, we have to realize that, and we talked about partnership. It has to go hand in hand. You have to keep looking at solutions from the customer's eye. What they need, and what best fit we can get at any point in time. So these are the challenges, and of course, for CPSEs, we have to find agile ways to be responding to that question. We are already there, but of course a lot needs to be done. If I talk about ourselves and of course our larger ecosystem, and more about, I believe, is the culture, the change of culture. It's not only about digital adoption. It's also about taking that path in terms of taking the whole organization along the digital journey in terms of literacy, and then moving up the curve towards adoption. That's a humongous exercise. We have seen. It's easier said than done. It requires a lot of change management and a lot of hand-holding. Yeah. Workflow management also requires workforce management. I think both have to go hand in hand.
Thank you. And one of the major takeaways of what you said is mindset change, as well as building that kind of culture, of course, because if one has to unlock the potential of emerging technologies, one has to in fact go full hog on this. And the good thing with the government is that it is adopting new technologies, it is adopting right to the extent of AI and ML, and in partnership with private sector, and some wonderful examples have come to the fore. But what I also see is the objective, unlocking the potential for what? And that is what Prashant ji beautifully explained, that it is for the benefit of the larger good, for the Indian citizens, for Indian businesses. And I think that is the kind of potential which resides with each citizen of India, every business of India, big or small. And for us to become a truly Viksit Bharat by 2047, technology, emerging technologies, and this public-private partnership will be the key. So thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your views. Some wonderful views have come up, unique perspectives which have opened my eyes as well, and I'm sure must have been enlightening for the audience also. Thank you so much.